Brother Shelton, salute to you. Bless up, salute. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Freedom marchers, freedom family, freedom lovers, and freedom fighters. Snapzilla gorillas in the building. Hitting y'all upside the head with this morning paper. Letting y'all know what our government is up to today. Yes, sir. Today, I wanted to talk about the EPA approving a pesticide for use in crops in the United States. Now, this pesticide will contain PFAS. PFAS are those forever chemicals that will accumulate in your body and create a whole lot of problems for you. Stacy, salute to you. Queen Stacy in the building. I ain't seen you in here in a minute. The real Shelton up in here. Who is it? Crystal Town. I can't. Happy holidays to you as well, Queen Stacy. I ain't seen you in a minute. I'm glad you're here. But yes, these forever chemicals are those chemicals that create all kinds of problems for the human body. Hormone disruption, cancer, inflammation, and the Environmental Protection Agency has just approved a pesticide that will contain said chemicals. Now, this is on the heels of, RFK talking about make America healthy again. Well, this just flies in the face of that claim, right? FDT, what is that? You gotta help me out. What's FDT? Good old America, absolutely. Now they will be able to use these pesticides on greens, potatoes, and all that type of shit. Leaves and roots. Because why not? We've already done enough to the environment. We've already done enough to cause sickness in the human body. Why not do more? Why not destroy the environment more? Why not kill millions and millions of more animals uh, spraying these chemicals on the monocrops that good old American agriculture has been doing, right? Because that's what mass scale agriculture leads to, right? Oh, F Donald Trump. Oh, absolutely. Yes, F Donald Trump. F all of them. F the government. I'm all for that. Now, here's how you can avoid becoming falling victim to these chemicals. You simply don't eat the shit that they're going to put it on. Okay. This is a time to find local farmers and ranchers regularly that you know they're not going to be using these chemicals on. It congrats to Lamont Roach. Salute to you, Flying Guillotine. Well, he ain't fought Pitbull yet. We gotta, he has to fight Pitbull before we can congratulate him. Anyway, unless he did fight Pitbull Cruz and I ain't know about it. Anyway, this is the problem. We rely on the government to ensure that we have a supply chain of food and products. We have firmly placed control in the government's hands over so many aspects of our lives, to the point where most people don't know where food comes from. They think the food magically appears at the grocery store. The food just magically appears at the grocery store. We have no idea how food is raised, how food is grown. We have no idea. We don't have any concept about, well, how do we go about not having to rely on the grocery store, not having to rely on the government to supply the food to us? Because that's not what this government was supposed to be in place for. The government is supposed to be in place to ensure our freedoms, to protect our freedoms. That's essentially it. Not to dictate and to determine how we get food, where we get food from. Because understand that many would argue, well, without government, how do we regulate the food? How do we make sure we get healthy? That's what the people will tell you. Oh, we need government to make sure that people are doing the right thing, that these restaurants and the stores and this and that. And if you leave that firmly in the hands of the government, things like this will happen. This is not even new, right? Look at the shit they allow to be put in the food already. All the sugar shit, the industrial seed oils, right? The highly processed foods that also do the same thing as the PFAS and the microplastics and the this and the that. Well, they already are allowing things to happen. They have been allowing things to be put into our food for decades. But we sit up here and we say we need the government to make sure that these things are properly regulated. We need government to regulate. Well, how well of a job has the government been doing with that? Why is it that we have an opioid crisis? Why is it that why are all these things happening? Well, because we look back and we say, well, we vote for these representatives to do these things for us, to make sure that they're looking out for us. But at the end of the day, they're not really doing that, are they? It's like when you go to a restaurant. Oh, we need the government to make sure that the restaurant is not giving us crappy food, that they have good upkeep, and roaches and are not there, and rats and rodents. Yeah, you send an inspector to this restaurant, and you rely on that inspector who works for the government to make sure that restaurant does the right thing, right? Make sure they're cleaning things, make sure they're sanitizing, make sure there isn't nasty shit all over the restaurant, make sure there's not rats and roaches and all that type of shit, make sure there's not mold around the refrigerator or the cooler. Making sure that they're having good upkeep with their restaurant. You think, oh, I need a government official to do that. I need the government official to make sure that the restaurant is not feeding us expired food, nasty shit, putting roaches in the food. But do you still have those things happening even with government inspectors going to these restaurants? Don't you still find fingers in your food? Don't you still find fucking roaches? Don't you still fucking find rodents? Yet these motherfuckers got A's on their shit. Right? They have an A on their window. They got the fucking A grade. And then you still find a roach in your shit. You still find hair. You still find this and that and the third. Right? Because at the end of the day, what is that government inspector? Can y'all tell me what that government inspector is? That inspector that goes into that restaurant is what? A human being, right? Is he special? Does he have special anointments? Is he anointed by God to be the best person with the most attention to detail? No. No, he's a human being just like me and you. Just like cops are, just like senators and Congress people. They're human beings. And guess what? A human being, if offered enough money, yeah, they'll sell your ass out. Don't we always have that? Don't we always get sellouts? What did the EPA do? A government-ran agency that we rely on to make sure that we're not being slowly killed by cancer-causing chemicals. Well, they just sold us out to Monsanto and the likes, right? Roundup, all these different, organizations and corporations that will create these pesticides to put on your food that you can't wash off. You think you're going to get some? You think you'll wash some shit off? You think you're going to get some vinegar? You think vinegar is going to work with that shit? Absolutely not. Yet here we are. Here we are. Right? And you think, well, in terms of the restaurant, well, if we don't have a government official inspecting that restaurant, well, how do we make sure that that restaurant is doing the right thing? Well, if you're going to patronize that restaurant, if a community is going to patronize that restaurant, it would behoove the owner of that restaurant to have good upkeep and are having the right practices, because, well, all you got to do, if that restaurant, you find a roach in there, you tell the people in the community, hey, that restaurant I found a roach in my food. I looked in the back. It looked nasty as hell. And you just spread the word. And guess what? People stop going to the restaurant. And guess what? Either that restaurant gets their act together, right? If they don't get their act together, well, they won't have customers anymore. Simple as that. You know what I'm saying? And maybe you have an agreement with that restaurant, the people in the community. Okay. You want to serve the people within the community. We want it, if you want us to patronize, you got to allow us to go see how your business is operating. Simple as that. You have an agreement with that restaurant owner. Now, how do you solve the problem of these pesticides that are going to be allowed to be put on the food that y'all eat? I don't eat that type of food. I don't eat leaves and roots. If I do eat a root or a leaf, I'm going to get it from a local farmer who I know is raising and they're doing the right thing, and they have a small crop. They're not they're doing regenerative farming and ranching. I'm going to go out of my way to get my food from a local rancher or a local farmer and make sure I know where I'm getting my food from. It's as simple as that. You want to make America great again and healthy again? Well, abandon these grocery stores. Abandon them unless they're going to you make it clear to these grocery stores, like, look, yeah, we don't want that shit. You know what I mean? You just don't buy it. Right? And it's not just the foods that they're going to allow the chemicals to be placed on. It's not just them. No, there's other foods on the grocery store shelves right now before this approval that had problems. All the sugar shit, I call it. I call it sugar shit. That's really all it is. It's sugar shit and chemical shit. You just stop buying it. You don't need it, right? You can go to Costco, Walmart. Well, I wouldn't get no meat from Walmart. You can go to Costco, maybe Sam's Club, buy what you know may not be as contaminated as the processed bullshit. Stay away from the processed bullshit is what you do. You start there. Right? Now, if they're going to allow these chemicals to be placed on these on the fruits and the veggies, well, maybe stay away from that shit too. Maybe if it's not organic, don't buy it. Right? Think about it. Is organic shit more expensive? Sure. But, there are certain things that you can do to mitigate that. There are ways to get around the slow poisoning of the population. Rely on the government to stop it. That's number one, right? What you put in your body is up to you. Oh yeah, organic can be bad too. Yeah, it can be bad. You just got to know where you're getting your organic food from. But you could start there in the grocery store. Do you need to eat a leaf? Think about that. Let's also think about that. Some of y'all, I know I got supporters that are vegetarian and vegan, like Orange Lily for you, who's not in here right now. Think about it. Do you need to eat a leaf? Are leaves, what they call that, an essential food? Right? Plants, that type of shit that has anti-nutrients and phytochemicals and crystalline things and all those type of things that if you eat it, it tears your gut up, right? It tears up your gut, right? You think it's good for you. All that fiber, that insoluble fiber that get locked up and get caught up in your colon and the polyps. And what does polyps lead to? Diverticulitis. What can diverticulitis lead to? Look up the leading causes of diverticulitis. What type of food lead to you getting diverticulitis? Now, on top of that, you got these forever chemicals gonna get sprayed on that type of shit. But do you need to eat leaves and roots to sustain your life? That's a question you got to ask yourself. What do we know is essential for the human body? To consume water, electrolytes, fats, and proteins. Do you need carbohydrates? Now, some people can't even tolerate. People can, and it depends on the carbohydrate as well. So if you're eating maybe like berries and strawberries and whatnot, certain fruits, avocado, those are fine as well. But think about berries in and of themselves. You peel a berry. You don't peel a strawberry. You don't peel a goddamn blueberry or a grape or raspberry, right? You just eat it whole. Well, if they're spraying strawberries, raspberries, and blueberries, guess what? Well, if they're spraying it, you're going to be consuming those chemicals, because unless you wash it off, and then if you try to wash it off, some of those forever chemicals can't be washed off. So you got to be extremely careful about where you get even your fruit from. Let's see. When I say leaves, do I mean spinach? Yes. Spinach, kale, Black Spring with Autumn. Salute to you, beautiful queen. Salute to the beautiful queen, Black Spring with Autumn. Make sure you guys drop your links if you are if you're a moderator and you have a channel. Now, think about that. Yeah, marijuana is a leaf. Diverticulitis is an inflammatory disease caused by inflammation. Moringa, the plant grown in my country of Jamaica, wild, is known as a tree of life. Has all the essential nutrients needed. Okay, but how do you make that those essential nutrients bioavailable? Claudette Olivier, salute to you and good morning. How bioavailable are the nutrients in the plants? And how do you make them bioavailable? And by making them bioavailable, are you in the process of doing that, denaturing those nutrients? Now, some you have it available, right? They're more easily bioavailable, but you have to process them, right? Like matcha, moringa, you have to put them through a process to break down the cellulose that the nutrients are locked in. But during that process, you're eliminating nutrients as well. Now, certain animals, they have a digestive system that'll break down the cellulose and release the nutrients that they need. But we don't have those digestive processes, not the human being. Now, I'm not saying what y'all should and should not eat. I'm saying in order to release these nutrients from those plants, you have to break them down. You got to break down the cellulose, right? You got to break it down. You got to make it more of a bioavailable. The Don't Talk Show, I warned you, the year is 2026. Okay. Everything comes from the ground and up through this xylem. Salute to Queen Marcy T. Salute to you. Now, go ahead and eat your... I'm not telling you what you should not eat. I'm telling you what is and what is not essential. Because they're going to contaminate all those foods that you guys love so much. They're going to contaminate it with this pesticide. Yes, watermelon is one of the products they put in the vaccine as edible. Damn. Water, after say, it's cool to blame the government, but farmers don't have to use those chemicals. They aren't legally obligated to. So because the farmers choose to use the chemicals, the government doesn't have to take any responsibility for allowing these chemicals to be used. Salute to Marianne, Noir Investigation. Salute to you, Queen. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. No, we're not going to blame the farmer when they go by the regulations the government gives them. Now, do the farmers have to use the spray? No. Does the farmer have to monocrop? Do farmers have to participate in mass agriculture? Now, you understand that some of these farmers, in order to operate as they do, they have to do these things in order for the government to allow them to operate. Right? You're saying the farmers are cheap asses. Do you know what it takes to operate a farm? Do you know what it takes to do that? You say they're cheap, but these farmers, the operating costs are very high, and they don't necessarily make a whole shitload of money. And in order to produce enough produce to meet the demands of the leaf eaters, they have to do these things, right? They're going to spray. The Mercy Prayer Word says, don't you know about the farming issue in the Dutch islands? They are feeding their cattle poison and the cattle are dying, but they'll go to jail if they don't use a chemical. Yes. Yes. You're in Iowa, you understand farming. I'm in Michigan. What's that got to do with the price of tea in China? So here's the problem. In certain countries, they don't allow this shit. Right? Now, these mass producers of the food, right? These mass producers, they all work together with the government to push this shit out to the public, and they get government subsidies, they get incentives, they get tax breaks. They're all working together, right? So the farmers, right, that are going to use these chemicals are likely corporate farmers, corporations, farms ran by corporations, farms ran by the likes of Bill Gates. Because, Bill Gates owns the largest amount of farmland in the country. So you take those types of individuals, they're not going to hesitate to spray their crops with that type of shit. Now, we do know that Bill Gates is an oligarch, right? That works with the government. He gets government subsidies, he gets government incentives, he gets tax breaks that we have to then compensate for. So when these corporations get tax breaks, this is what happens. And this, when I tell you guys, the government, the representatives in Congress, they don't truly represent you. They represent the oligarchs. They represent the corporations. They represent the banks and the special interest groups. This is what I'm talking about. In order to do what's best suited for them and what's best suited for the likes of a Bill Gates, who owns all these farms, all this farmland, and other corporate farms, well, what's best suited for them is to spray their shit with all this so that they're talking about creating plants that are already, like, bugs can't eat without spraying. Yeah. The lunatic libertarian says, I'm all about shutting down mass agriculture in the Department of Agriculture. I'm with that as well. They don't represent us. So, with that understanding, understand that the approval of this chemical is not about representing us. It's about representing the corporations that created the spray. They're going to make the money. And then the mass producers, the mass farmers, the mass agriculture individuals, they're going to make more money because they're going to spray this shit. And then they're going to have crops. They're going to have produce that's going to last forever. Right? They're going to be able to store plants and produce in warehouses. So by the time it gets to you, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 months old. Yes. They want the food to last forever. So that, guess what? They don't have to worry about mold. They don't have to worry about any of that stuff. But the price for food not expiring, the price for there not being mold, the price for pests not eating up the crops is what? Cancer, colon cancer, right? Malnutrition, poor gut health, leaching of nutrients in your body. Apples are already stored for a year. Yeah, I mean, some produce is already stored for quite a long time. Quite a long time. Right? They want to control the supply chain. So they're going to have these warehouses. They're going to keep all this produce in these warehouses. They're going to store it forever. Right? And then that's what they're just going to do. And then when they get to the point, when they achieve their goal of these 15-minute cities, and they stack and pack everybody in these 15-minute cities, they're going to supply all the food you will ever need in your life. Lab-grown food, forever plants. They're going to supply you with everything you need. And then, you're probably going to have a life expectancy of about 50 years old. Right? Due to the vaccines, due to all these different things, right? Because think about it. And salute to Derek C. Williams, who has been posting a whole lot of people that have obtained fast-acting cancers. You're talking about young people. We're talking about Donald Glover, right? Donald Glover has a hole in his heart and had a stroke out of nowhere. You have people after the COVID-19 vaccine proliferation. You got more and more people, more and more youthful people contracting fast-acting cancers out of nowhere. By the time they realize it, they got stage 4, 5. They don't even know about it. Your life expectancy is going to go down. Your quality of life is going to go down. But, they're going to convince you that 50 or 60 years old is a long time. And that you don't really need to live beyond that, because then you'll be just a useless eater, right? They'll convince you that you don't need to live that long, right? You'll get that universal basic income, and they'll give you those forever plants, and they'll keep your ass. Yeah, Childish Gambino. So, President Valentine says Ashkenazi from Japheth and the Gentiles are from Japheth. They got the children, and Shem and Abraham children fighting each other. Eshua, Jacob, Ishmael. Have more babies. I would say so. Years ago, Oregon farmer was banned for storing rainwater and making ground pools for his livestock. Yeah, they don't like that type of shit. They want to control land, sea, and air. They want to control where we get our water from, how we get our water. Think about that. Somebody was talking about, I was looking it up. They're talking about in Eastern Europe how they had these droughts for 3 years and they can't really grow crops anymore. And they particularly talked about Ukraine. They had these droughts for the last 3 years, and they had the rain. They didn't say the rain stopped. They say the rainfall shifted. The rainfall shifted to not fall on certain parts of Ukraine. Shifted. Right? And I've talked about on this channel before how they can manipulate the weather. The same thing happened. You remember a couple years ago, they had all those derechos or derechos, whatever the fuck you call that, in the in the Midwest, that drowned hundreds of thousands of cattle. Salute to Black Spring Autumn for dropping my book. Yes, and hit the like button, y'all. Hit the like button. You remember those storms in the Midwest that dumped tons and tons of water and drowned out farms, drowned out crops, drowned out cattle? And then the next year, there was a heat wave that killed hundreds of thousands of millions of cattle. Yeah. One year they drowned the fucking Midwest. They drowned the cows, and then the next year, well, they smoked their ass out. They blaze them up. Weather manipulation. The lunatic libertarian says we just had a huge storm over the Midwest of snow. Just watch the jet streams. Yeah, and that's also a thing. You were out shoveling yesterday? Yeah. But what did they tell you? Oh, we got global warming. Global warming this, global warming that. No. And then what did they change it to? Climate change. In reality, it's just weather manipulation. Simple as that. Weather manipulation that they have been able to perform since World War I with cloud seeding and whatnot. It evolved from cloud seeding to creating electromagnetic fields around storm systems to move them wherever they want. And then you got the spray that they spray in the sky to create high pressure domes to ensure that the moisture goes around where the dome is to go to so they can ship to the other locations. They manipulate the weather. They've been doing it for over 70 years. They don't need to see. It's not just cloud seeding. Cloud seeding is just one aspect of weather manipulation. They have other aspects of weather manipulation where, like I said, they can move storm systems around. Salute to my brother Stormy B-Man in the building. Yes, the climate is always changing. Absolutely. The earth goes in and out of ice ages. In and out of ice ages. You know, the Mississippi River used to be an ocean. It was an ocean at one point. And we had 0 polar ice caps. There was a time. Salute to the Uncle Stormy B Man. Salute to the Sensei. Make sure y'all go check his channel out as well. Make sure y'all drop your links. Now, there used to be 0 ice caps. It was we had the entire country was warm. The entire country was hot. Or the entire world. Right? There was the Mississippi rivers and the Great Lakes was all part of a river. West of the Mississippi was an ocean in the Midwest. Yes. That's why you have H and sea salt, they call it. They call it H and sea salt in Utah. The Salt Lakes. You know how they have the Salt Lakes? Yeah, because there was an ocean. So the weather changes, period. And no, humans don't accelerate. No, they don't do that. No. What they're doing is they're manipulating weather systems so that they can shift weather systems here and there. They can create high pressure domes. They can do all these types of things. Yeah. And now that they have destroyed millions and millions of cattle over 2 years, right? Storm B Man says, watch the film The Prestige with Christian Bale and Hugh Jackman. Yes, I love that film. And Nikola Tesla was on to something. And then, they just basically they screwed Nikola Tesla. They screwed him out of a patent. They screwed him out of all kind of shit. He found a way to harness free energy from the air. And they were like, nah, we ain't gonna be able to do it. Yes. And the bottom line is now they are going to allow let's understand, they've already been putting chemicals on the vegetables and fruits. They've already been doing it, right? They've already been doing it. But now this new chemical is going to be ultra instinct pesticide. That means ain't nothing going to touch it. So it's not, pesticide is not just a freaking bugs. No, it's going to be fungus. It's going to be bacteria. You think that's a great thing? Oh, okay. That's great. This is what we want. No, you don't want that. What you want is to have your farm small enough and sustainable enough so that you don't have to use those chemicals. Because those smaller farms are going to contain biodiversity. It's going to be permaculture, right? It's going to be regenerative. You need the biodiversity. You need that. It sustains itself, right? Check out permaculture farms. Permaculture farms. It's a channel. He shows people how to do regenerative farming. That's basically the point of his channel, right? But if you look at how he operates his farm, there's tons of biodiversity. It's regenerative. He uses chickens and goats and all this stuff to basically do weed killing, right? Because they'll eat the weeds, they'll eat all that stuff. You just throw the feed in there, and then the pigs and the chickens and the this and the that, they'll get rid of the weeds. So you don't need weed killer. But guess what? His farm is just big enough with enough food to sustain his family. So he doesn't need to mass produce anything. And he'll have enough left over to sell to the local people, the people that live around him, at a farmer's market or whatever the case may be. Yes, the chickens will fertilize. Yes. He uses what he calls a chicken tractor to basically get rid of the weeds and get rid of the invasive plants and all that stuff. And that's what he does. But it's work, right? He basically works all day for this. But he don't go to work. He has a YouTube channel, and he does enough to feed his entire family. And he was a tradesman. He was an electrician for so many years. So he has that knowledge as well. And this is what we need. We don't need forever chemicals. So even if you're a leaf eater, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it. But I suggest from now on, you search out local farmers and ranchers that are sustainably and regeneratively raising their crops and raising their animals. Spend a little extra money. Develop a relationship. Maybe tell them, what if I come help you harvest some of your produce? Help you, maybe on the weekends. Maybe we'll come by a few hours and we'll help you do whatever the fuck. This is what I do. I develop relationships with the local ranchers and farmers. Then I'll get discounts and all this type of shit. Sometimes they'll throw in free shit. Like I'll go to the Red Barn down the street. And they bring people bring the local eggs. I used to get the local eggs directly from the egg farmer, the egg rancher. for $3 a carton. $3 a carton. Even when everybody was complaining about paying $8, $9 for a carton of eggs, I was paying $3 a carton. But the demand for her eggs grew so much that she was delivering them. She would just deliver them herself. She'd get in her little van and she'll drive around and deliver the eggs. But the demand became too high. So now she sells it through the local produce market. And now it's, what, $6 a carton, $5 a carton, something like that. Pay a couple dollars more, but she had to do it. She had to, she couldn't sustain it anymore. It was becoming too much. So the family decided to sell their products to the local, produce stand, and then they'll sell it. And it's okay. It's all right. I'll pay a couple more dollars because I know the eggs are good. I know the eggs are fresh. I know where they're coming from. Right? It is what it is. I also get my goat milk from there. I get my raw cow milk from there. Cottage cheese, sour cream, apples and oranges and blackberries and blueberries when they're in season. And you know what they do? All the produce they get, they spray all that shit down with a vinegar solution. They'll spray it with a vinegar, let it sit, and then they'll spray it off with water. But they don't have pesticides or anything. So they're just all the dirt, all the bugs and all that stuff that are on the produce. They clean all that shit and they wash it out before they put it out for you to buy. Anyway, thank y'all for coming through. I got to get out of here. I got to get to work. But I'm glad you guys came and listened to me. Think about that. Do we really need to eat what they're going to be spraying that bullshit on? At the end of the day, no, we do not. Salute to you, Balding Sense. Latressa Montgomery, salute to you. Thank you for coming through. No sharecropping. We can have tiny homes and eat clean veggies. Absolutely. Much love. Like, share, subscribe. And let's keep marching forward toward freedom and truth. And don't let these people kill you slowly with these forever chemicals. Peace.